So that was an episode, alright. Yeah, you know what, I'm gonna start off giving credit where credit is due, because, like, this episode wasn't all bad, it wasn't. There was a lot of good things in there as well, but, if you've seen the episode, then you probably already know what I'm talking about, and, we'll get to it. You know what, I'll save it for later. So, the episode starts right, like, literally the second it ended last time, with Joffrey lying dead on the floor in the middle of his wedding, but, instead of staying with the Lannisters, we cut to Ser Dontos and Sansa just quickly making an escape out of the city right before Tywin's able to lock everything down and no one's allowed to leave. At this point, it's sort of where I get excited about Sansa's storyline, because if you've read the books, then you know that this is the point where it starts to pick up for her in terms of her kind of character transformation. I'm glad to see Littlefinger again, just because wherever he is, he always has a plan, and he's always advancing the plot, and he's never one of the characters that just kind of sits around idling, if you know what I mean. For more recasting this season, we get the new Tommen, who, I'm not gonna lie, he looks like he's about, like 4 years too old to play this part. Like, it looks like he aged about 8 years in the last 2 seasons. But that's a nitpick. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. His role is obviously massively upgraded now that he's gonna be king, so it makes sense that his actor would be upgraded as well. The scene with him and Tywin in the Sept was great. It just goes to show, like, how quickly everybody is just kind of pouncing on this kid, and I think it says a lot about Tywin that he gives no shits at all about who killed Joffrey. Like, he does not care. He's all about seizing the opportunity that's right in front of him, which is Tommen, and it's a race between him and the Tyrells and a whole bunch of other people to see who can sink their claws into them the fastest, and who can bend him to their will, because he's just so young and easy to manipulate, but at the same time he holds all the power now, so. That being said, though, Tywin does make arrangements for Oberyn to sit as a juror on Tyrion's trial, but, you know, Oberyn obviously has his own agenda, so he's a bit of a wild card, really. Speaking of Tyrion, though, for a guy who just got arrested for murder, we didn't get to see a lot of him, but what we did get with him and Podrick was really fantastic, and I'm so anxious for both of their stories to get started kind of now, but oh, it's gonna be so good. If you haven't read the books, it's gonna be so good. So, Stannis gets word of Joffrey's death, and after a really great scene with Davos and Shireen happens, he gets the idea to convince Stannis to get sellswords from the Free Cities. So, they are off to Essos. Well, again, nothing about Stannis' character pissed me off here. I have to wonder, like, because to say this in a way that avoids spoilers for people who haven't read the books, he needs to end up in a certain place by the end of this season. And granted, we still have lots of time to get him there, but I'm really not sure how they're gonna do that sort of metaphorical and literal turnaround to get him, you know, to where he needs to be. So, one last thing to touch on before my rant is what's happening at the Wall right now. Sam and Jilly's scenes probably were the least needed thing, but it's sort of ironic how Sam and Jilly have this kind of talk about consent and rape, and how rape is bad, and Jilly needs to avoid getting raped. Again, I'll talk about it later, but anyways. So, our Night's Watch Scooby-Doo gang is back. Ed, Gren, and Pip. They're finally back from Craster's Keep. They're really fantastic. I love all of them as minor characters. Anyways, they let all the other brothers know that the group of Black brothers that mutinied against Mormont are still at Craster's Keep, and they're kind of holding out there. And almost right away, Jon's like, okay, you know what, we need to kill these guys, because if they let Mance Rayder know that I lied to them, that we have way more people here to defend the Wall than we actually do, we're gonna be really screwed. So Jon's sort of on this side quest now, and that'll be really interesting to see. So, about that scene, like, I have to say, like, I went into this season really only worried about Stannis' character, and if they were kind of gonna make the mistakes that they did with him last season, but, I never thought that I would have to worry about Jaime's character. And unfortunately, this episode has a really shocking surprise. Well, in the books, them having sex at Joffrey's wake is pretty consensual. I don't want to say pretty consensual, like, it was consensual. Here, I mean, there really isn't any way to get around it. Like, he straight up rapes her. And I'm not saying this because of the subject matter of rape. That's something that we've seen in the series before. You know, this has absolutely nothing to do with rape and everything to do with the fact that this is something that this character just would not do. And this is as big a slap in the face to his character as anything that they've done to Stannis so far. And it worries me a lot because I honestly don't know how they're going to progress at this point, because I don't think that they realize how much this changes everything with him in the eyes of the audience. And how badly they've absolutely just fisted his character. But, I don't know. There really isn't an excuse or a positive spin that I can put on this. They definitely messed up here, in a pretty big way. Anyways, after that bombshell, let's finish off with talking about Daenerys. I thought her scenes were pretty lame, but on the flip side, at least something happened, and at least they served a purpose for her story. So she's outside the gates of Meereen, and they send out their champion on horseback with his lance. And she's kind of looking around like, ooh, who can I use as my champion? So Grey Worm offers, and she's like, oh, no, you're too valuable, which, I mean, really? I don't think he's valuable. Where are you getting this from? I don't think he's irreplaceable at all. Jorah offers, but she's very patronizingly like, oh, no, Jorah, I can't send you. You're too good a friend for me to lose. And then Jorah steps up, and he's like, you know, I've won more one-on-one fights than anyone else in history. And for a second, I was like, oh my god, like, they're gonna do something awesome that we didn't even get to see in the books, which was see Sir Barristan, like, kick some ass. But, then she's like, oh no, it's because you're such a good fighter that I can't let you fight. And I'm like, well, number one, you're depriving us of something really awesome, which is seeing him kick some ass, and number two, that makes no sense. Daario Naharis walks up, and he's all like, oh, hey babe, I'll nail this guy for you. And she's all like, what did you say? I was so lost in your eyes. Yeah, you can go fight that guy, that's cool. So Daario kills this guy, and then, Daenerys calls up to the walls of Meereen, like everybody just is kind of out there, kind of looking at her massive eunuch army. And then she's like, slaves, it's okay, if you just turn on your masters, then I'll fix everything, and everything will be fine. And I'm thinking, you know, you're probably killing a lot of them right where they stand right now, because, you know, the masters that just heard all of this, the slave masters that heard this, are gonna be like, well, need to ice these suckers before they get any ideas. And then she launches, like, these broken chains into the city as, like, a symbol of, oh, I free slaves, that's my thing. Which I'm sure kill a lot of people as well when the barrels come crashing down on them, slaves or not. I mean, that doesn't happen on screen, that was just something I kept on thinking about. So, in one fell swoop, you guys, she shows an egregious lack of knowledge of both slavery and its social behavior, and also just how gravity works. This episode felt like kind of a letdown, especially since last week was just so good. One thing I will say in its favor, though, is that for better or for worse, we are at least getting some forward momentum. Like, a lot of characters they have plans, and they're going to places. So, at the very least, I am looking forward to next week, and that'll be good. But, what did you guys think? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think of the Jaime scene? Put it in the comments below, and subscribe so you don't miss anything. I'm Danzy, and I'll see you later.